At the start of the episode, we're shown a man who has arrived at Choisung Sports, where he test drives a car and pushes it to full speed. A little later, we learn that his name is Yong Ho, and that he is the chairman of the Choisung Group. The workers praise him and tell him he's done a great job, but Yong Ho points out the various shortcomings in their car and tells them to get those fixed. He then speaks with Sang Jae, who is both his right-hand man and the executive director of the Choisung Group, and instructs him to summon all the presidents because there's something he wants to say. On the other side, we meet our main hero, whose name is Jun Hyun, and who is a football player. He comes out onto the field and begins practicing. In the next scene, he's playing a match with his team, while scouts from Choisung FC keep an eye on him. After that, they sit down for a meeting with him and explain that they've been watching him for the past month. They ask him to join Choisung FC and play for them. A contract worth 500 million won is signed between them. Jun Hyun is overjoyed because he's now going to play in the first division, though his real dream is to play in the Premier League. Meanwhile, we see Yong Ho arriving for his meeting. Here we're introduced to his children, his daughter, Jae Kyung, and his son, Jae Song. Yong Ho begins by speaking about the past, how hard he worked and how he built the company up into the top 10. But now he says he wants to name his successor soon. He tells his children to accomplish whatever they can within 1 month, promising that he'll be watching their performance, and that whoever does the best work will be made his successor. Once Yong Ho leaves, the two children stay behind and start listing everything each of them has done in the past. An argument breaks out. She insists she's the better one, while Jae Song claims that he is, adding that he's also her older brother. Jae Kyung tells him to cut the nonsense. He was born just 50 seconds before her, so it counts for nothing. In the next scene, we see the two siblings talking with their respective teams and getting to work, each determined to look good in their father's eyes. Yong Ho is in his office talking with Sang Jae, who asks whether he truly wants to go through with this. Yong Ho replies that he has no choice. He can't keep leading everyone for much longer. Afterward, he heads out to unwind. Sang Jae wants to come along, but Yong Ho turns him down. Sang Jae then calls someone and asks whether the thing he'd requested has been prepared. The person on the line confirms that it has. In the next scene, Yong Ho returns home, where his entire family is gathered. We meet his wife, his second wife, named Seon Hee. The siblings, too, start bringing up the matter of the successor. Seon Hee asks Yong Ho whether he really means to do this, saying she had no idea and wondering what the hurry is. Jae Song, however, argues that their father has worked for so long that he ought to retire, so he can go out and travel with her. Just then, Sang Jae arrives, and the family asks what he's doing there. He explains that the chairman called him in. A new battery has been fitted in the car, and it needs to be tested. The chairman then leaves together with him. In the next scene, the two of them are in the garage, where Sang Jae shows him some files concerning a slush fund. This is how the chairman discovers the wrongdoing his two children have been committing. They've been stealing his money. The chairman asks why he's only being told now, and Sang Jae apologizes, explaining that he wanted to be sure, so he verified it twice. Afterward, the two of them head out together. Nearby stands manager Jang, who watches them go, then calls someone to report that the chairman has left. Just then, we see Jae Song climb into the chairman's car and start checking the dashcam footage. At the same moment, Jae Kyung shows up as well. Jae Song asks her whether she stole from the slush fund too, and she admits that she did. As they're reviewing the footage, the chairman, who isn't feeling quite right, returns to the garage. Realizing he's on his way, Jae Song quietly slips the car out. Moments later, the chairman arrives to find the car missing and asks Jang where it went. Jang tells him the car seemed to have a fault, so he sent it off, and the chairman takes him at his word. We then see the two siblings out on the road, checking the photos from the dashcam footage. On the other side, Jun Hyun is crossing the street while on the phone with his grandmother, Ok Sun, who is in the hospital and suffering from dementia. At first, Ok Sun doesn't recognize him, but once Jun Hyun shows her his uniform to prove he's a football player, she finally does. He tells her that he signed a contract with Choisung FC that day, and that he'll soon be playing in the Premier League. The two siblings happen to be driving in his direction, their attention buried in the dashcam footage, and so they crash into Jun Hyun. They glance at him through the side mirror and are terrified, but rather than helping him, they take off in the car and flee the scene. Jun Hyun is rushed to the hospital. We watch the two siblings phone everyone they can and erase every shred of evidence. The blood on the road, the dashcam footage, all of it wiped clean. Back in their office, they discuss whether their father has found out about their slush fund. We then see Yong Ho coming to drive his car, only to notice a scratch on the front. He asks Jang what it is, and Jang drops to his knees and apologizes, explaining that Jae Kyung and Jae Sung had taken the car, but a cat darted out in front of it, which is how it all happened, and that they had ordered him to keep his mouth shut. Young-ho then checks the dashcam footage, but there's nothing on it. Jun-hyun regains consciousness and tries to move his legs, but he can't. He speaks with the doctor and asks what's wrong, and the doctor tells him he'll never be able to play again. Jun-hyun breaks down in tears, begging him not to say such a thing and pleading with him to please make him well. It's his grandmother's dream for him to become a player and compete in the first league. He pleads to be healed, but nothing can be done now. We see Sang-jae talking with Young-ho, telling him that his children have stolen money and asking what he plans to do about it. Young-ho says he doesn't want word of this getting out. He'll have to bury it for good, and notes that they had even gone through his own dashcam footage. Sang-jae says they're truly awful people and that he shouldn't give them any chance, but Young-ho replies that he can't expose them, since doing so would destroy his own reputation. Using the cane he carries, he opens his safe, and inside we see a huge amount of cash along with gold. He pulls out some files, hands them to Sang-jae, and says this real estate was meant for his wife, but now he should sell it off and handle everything. We see Jun-hyun arriving for rehab. He tries to walk, but at first, simply can't. Meanwhile, Sun-hee calls her daughter, Bang-gul, who is in America. She tells her that her father is about to choose a successor soon, and that one of her step-siblings will be selected. So she wants Bang-gul to come over and get into her sibling's good graces so that she too can claim a share. But Bang-gul snaps back, saying that just as her mother once wanted, she came over here before. She was forced to move here, and now her mother is calling her back. She wants none of it. We then see Jun-hyun, who had been asleep that night. He replays the scene of his accident in his mind. He does manage to catch the car's number plate, but he can't read it clearly. He searches for it online and goes to the police station to give them the number, but nothing comes of it, because the number isn't right. A police officer messages Jae Kyung, telling her that the victim has no evidence whatsoever. Jae Kyung calls her brother and says she's done her part. Now it's his turn. What about the Choisung FC situation? Is everything going smoothly? On the other side, we see Jun-hyun going to manager Jae-won and demanding to know what's going on. Why has his contract with Choisung FC been cancelled, and why has he been fined on top of it? This can't be happening, he says, begging for one more chance. But Jae-won tells him there's nothing he can do. The orders came from above. In the next scene, Jun-hyun is protesting all by himself, but it gets him nowhere. Just then his aunt calls. Jun-hyun starts crying and tells her he's sorry. There's nothing more he can do. This aunt is the very one who has been caring for Ok-sun. Jun-hyun tells her he doesn't even have any evidence, but the aunt asks what he's talking about. She'd already sent him a video earlier. Hasn't he watched it? Jun-hyun then realizes that while he was on that video call with her, everything had been recorded, and the car's number plate is plainly visible in the footage. Jun-hyun goes to a PC cafe and searches the number, and he discovers that the car belongs to Young-ho, the chairman of the Choisung group. In the next scene, he shows up at the company carrying a delivery, saying it's for the chairman. The chairman opens it to find photographs inside, pictures of his own car. Jun-hyun, meanwhile, was waiting outside. Some employees come over and tell him the chairman wants to meet him. In the following scene, the two come face to face, and Jun-hyun explains everything that happened to him. How his dream had been to play in the Premier League, but because of the chairman, he couldn't. He even shows him the video of how his car struck him. Young-ho responds, "So what? How much money do you want?" Jun-hyun says he'd expected him to begin with an apology, but Young-ho tells him that his apologies start with money. Jun-hyun tells him how hard he'd worked and how much sweat he'd poured out on the field, and threatens to take him to court. But Young-ho says he won't be able to do a thing because everything is in his hands. He hands him a check and says he wants to see what his blood and sweat are worth. Jun-hyun can write whatever amount he likes on it. Young-ho is then informed that the presidents are arriving, and he has Jun-hyun sent away. On his way out, Jun-hyun crosses paths with the two siblings, but they don't recognize him. The two come to their father, and Young-ho confronts them with what they've done. Jae-kyung drops to her knees and claims she did nothing. Jae-sung was the one driving at the time. And Jae-sung likewise starts making excuses. But Young-ho declares that neither of them can become his successor. They aren't even worthy of being president, and now he's going to strip them of their positions. We see Jun-hyun sitting outside, on a video call with Ok-sun, but he grows deeply emotional because she keeps talking about his playing. Just then comes an announcement that the chairman is about to hold a board meeting. Jun-hyun starts heading upstairs, and Jae-kyung and Jae-sung come running toward the chairman as well. But then we see one of them accidentally fall onto their father, and Young-ho goes tumbling down. Jun-hyun is right there in front, and his head collides with him. The two of them then fall down together. In the next scene, we see Jun-hyun in the hospital. He wakes up and finds that his legs are working perfectly. How did this happen? As he gets up to leave, he glances at the side mirror and realizes he's turned into Jun-hyun, meaning his soul has been placed inside Jun-hyun's body. Seeing this, he cries out, "Why this one? It could have been anyone else!" On the other side, we see Young-ho's body, which is in a coma, with Jun-hyun's soul now inside it. Son-hee comes to visit and asks about his condition. The doctor turns out to be Jae-kyung's husband, whose name is Sang-dae. Jae-kyung says to Son-hee, "What are you doing here? You should be at home right now." Sang-jae also comes over and reassures them not to worry. The chairman will recover. Outside the room, we see people talking about Young-ho. Just then, Jun-hyun appears nearby and watches them all. A news report then comes on, and it's through this that Jun-hyun learns that Young-ho is, in fact, connected to a hit-and-run case. The report says he caused an accident involving a boy named Jun-hyun. Sang-jae tells his secretary to secure the victim as quickly as possible. The two siblings are asked whether it's true. Did the chairman really do all this? They explain that before the board meeting, they had gone to see the chairman, and he'd told them that yes, he had done it. Jun-hyun, who is really the chairman in this new body, is standing nearby and watches the whole thing. He's furious and yells at them, then comes running over and throws the door open. Son-hee was sitting beside Young-ho's body. Jun-hyun shouts that he wants his soul back. He then rushes toward Young-ho's body, but suddenly his head begins to ache, and something similar happens to Young-ho's body, whose machines spring to life, meaning he is now stable. Seeing this, Son-hee is left stunned. And with that, Episode 1 comes to an end.